There is a kind of pain that doesn't come from sudden loss, but from gradual realization. The pain of standing in front of a closed door long after the sound of it shutting has faded. The pain of still holding the handle, wondering if maybe this time it will turn. You didn't knock casually. You knocked with intention, with prayer, with tears whispered into the dark when no one else could hear you. You knocked believing that persistence meant faith, that waiting meant loyalty, that staying meant obedience. And when the door finally closed, it didn't just hurt. It confused you, because you were sure God was in it, or at least you hoped he was. Some doors don't close violently. They close quietly, slowly, through unanswered messages, through opportunities that fade instead of fail, through relationships that grow cold without explanation. And those are the hardest to accept because nothing dramatic happened. No clear ending, no obvious reason. Just distance, just silence, just absence. And silence can feel more painful than rejection because it leaves room for doubt. It makes you ask yourself if you should knock one more time, if you gave up too early, if God is testing your perseverance. But what if God is not testing you at all? What if he is trying to spare you? There are moments in life when we mistake attachment for purpose, when we confuse familiarity with destiny, when something stays long enough in our life that we assume it must be permanent. And so we fight for it. We pray for it. We defend it, even when it slowly drains our joy, our peace, our sense of self. We say, God, please fix this, without realizing that God is trying to free us from it. You didn't imagine the exhaustion. You didn't imagine the constant tension. You didn't imagine the way your spirit felt unsettled, even when things seemed fine on the surface. That was discernment whispering to you before pain had to shout. But sometimes we don't listen to whispers. Sometimes we only understand when the door closes completely. Revelation 3:7 says, "What he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open." This verse is often quoted with power, but rarely with tenderness, because embedded in that authority is protection. If God shut it, it means he saw what persistence could not fix. It means he knew that opening that door again would require you to compromise parts of yourself you were never meant to lose. We often think God's love will always feel comforting, but love that protects you from harm doesn't always feel gentle in the moment. Sometimes it feels like disappointment. Sometimes it feels like grief. Sometimes it feels like unanswered prayer. But unanswered does not mean uncared for. There are doors God closes because behind them is a future that looks good from the outside but would hollow you from the inside. Futures where you would slowly silence your convictions. Futures where you would tolerate what you once prayed to never endure. Futures where you would become smaller just to make something stay. And when God closes that door, you feel the loss intensely because you were emotionally invested. You imagined birthdays, conversations, versions of yourself that never came to exist. And letting go feels like burying something that never fully lived. That grief is real, and God is not offended by it. What hurts most is not the closed door, but the question it leaves behind. Did I misunderstand God? And the answer is no. You heard him. You just heard him through pain instead of permission. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." You planned with sincerity. You hoped with purity. You intended no harm. But intention alone does not determine direction. God sees intersections you cannot see. He sees consequences hidden behind charm. He sees emotional costs disguised as opportunities. And when your plan and his protection collided, he chose protection, even if it wounded you temporarily. Sometimes God closes doors after giving us many chances to walk away on our own. He sends discomfort. He sends inner resistance. He sends moments where something feels off, even when everything looks right. But when we ignore those signals, he intervenes more firmly. Not because he is impatient, but because he is committed to who you are becoming. Letting go feels like failure when you've invested so much time, energy, and prayer. But obedience is not measured by how long you stay. It is measured by how well you listen. And listening to God sometimes means releasing what you still love. There are seasons when God allows you to knock until you realize the door is no longer safe, until your soul grows tired of forcing entry, until your heart understands what your mind refused to accept. And when the door finally shuts, the pain is sharp because deep down, you knew it was time. What if the pain you're feeling right now is not loss, but transition? What if God is not removing something good, but preventing something destructive? What if the door closed because the next season of your life requires a version of you that could not survive behind it? Isaiah 55:8 reminds us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." You only see the moment. God sees the outcome. You see the connection. God sees the cost. You see what could be. God sees what would be lost. And this is where trust becomes real. Not when God gives you what you want, but when He removes what you wanted and asks you to believe that He knows better. Trust is not built in clarity. It is built in surrender. One day you will realize that what you were calling persistence was slowly becoming self-betrayal. That staying was costing you more than leaving ever would. And you will thank God for closing a door you kept knocking on, because opening it would have required you to abandon yourself. God does not close doors to confuse you. He closes them to clarify, to teach you that what is meant for you will not require you to beg, chase, or lose your peace to keep. What is meant for you will meet you with alignment, not anxiety. You are not behind. You are not rejected. You are being redirected. And although it doesn't feel like it now, the pain you feel is shaping discernment within you, teaching you to recognize what is safe, what is holy, what is aligned. And someday, when you look back, you will see that the door you cried over was never meant to be your home. It was a lesson, a preparation, a moment that refined you for something better. If this reflection resonated with your heart, feel free to leave a like or subscribe to the channel. Not because you have to, but because we walk these quiet journeys together. And may you find peace in every door God closes and courage to walk forward without looking back.